Okay, I think we're live. It looks like it. So, welcome back, everybody. I hope you've been enjoying all this content. This is something I've wanted to do for a long time, and we're going to do a Top Gun watch along. So, the first movie watch along. This is completely live. We've got people coming in already, so this is really cool. And I've got someone so special. You can see him at the bottom of the screen now. And this is Maverick 114, my friend Cam. He's a Top Gun Maverick impersonator and such an awesome guy. So, Cam Maverick, should I say? How you doing, man?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for inviting me on there, Mr. Barnett. I'm looking very much forward to this event. It's going to be balls to the wall, a good time.
Yeah, same as me too. And I think what we'll do is anybody that's coming in now and watching this, what it's going to be, and if you're watching it later on as well, because you'll be able to watch this at any time. We're going to watch the movie. We're going to set it so you guys can put it in yourself, watch it on Amazon, put your DVD in or whatever, and we're just going to watch it all together. And then me and Cam are just going to like spurt out what we know about the movie. I've been a lifelong fan of Top Gun. I think I watched it when I was about 6 years old, and I must have watched the film. I don't know, 1,000 times. I've watched it a lot. So I'm just going to give my experiences, how I feel. Oh, one thing I did forget to do. Yeah, I've just reminded me now. There we go. We've got to put the aviators on just for a little bit. I
There you go. There you
don't look
go.
I don't look as slick as you, but yeah, we've got some people in, so this is really good. So we've got 5 people watching. Got Rich turning back clock. How you doing, mate? And that's a brilliant channel, actually. Richard's a good friend of mine, and he's got a really good channel. It's all about fitness and turning back that biological clock. I need to do some more phys. I haven't done any since I left the army, really. But yeah, it's a really good channel. Go and have a look. And we've got Phoenix in. How you doing? And we've got Blaine's coming. Oh, wicked. Hey, Blaine. How you doing, mate? And while we're on the plug-in stuff, Maverick, do you want to plug your Instagram as well? Because it's a really good Instagram you've got there.
Okay, very good. Okay, so this will be, I suppose, my part where I start to talk. I'm kidding. Um, Excellent. So, to those of you who don't know, I am stationed up in good old cold but beautiful country of Canada. Unfortunately, I am not in the beautiful land of that is San Diego. That's the other guy. Um, so I am stationed here in Canada. You may know me as Maverick 114 cosplayer. If you'd like, you could take this time to go onto Instagram as well as Facebook, and you can search up the exact name Maverick 114 cosplayer. You'll see all of my amazing photos, a lot of great events that I'm involved in. Um, I do this, I suppose I could say part time. I'm mostly busy during the summer, and I help bring everyone's favorite aviator to life, and they can shake hands, high fives, and you know what? Just all in all, have a good time. It's gonna be awesome. I cannot wait. And also, turning back the clock, I did see your message that you have followed. Thank you very much. That means a lot. I am doing this. The reason why I do this is because of you guys, and to all my fellow Top Gun enthusiasts, and the fellow aviators that are involved with Top Gun, or was even involved in flying, or even had the dream of flying. This is why I do it. This is for you guys. So thank you.
And one thing I really like about what you do, and why one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, I just think you're a really cool guy, and like the fact that you do it for your community as well, and you've been helping out your local aviation museum, trying to keep that spirit alive, keep small aviation museums and things like that in business, and doing a really cool thing like that. The simulator flying for the kids that you're doing is amazing. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, so part time, I am involved in what's called Maverick 114 Spider Weapons School. I basically drew inspiration from the Top Gun Maverick movie, as well as the actual Fighter Weapons School program that is now stationed in Nevada. So basically, the premise is that I help teach kids learn how to do virtual reality a fighter jet flying or virtual reality dog fighting. It ages from a minimum of 10 years old to however old that you are, and you can come in. There is a little bit of a brief. I instruct kids, okay, this is how an aircraft is supposed to work. Okay, we do what's called the roll and pull method if you're wanting to turn your aircraft, and this is how you lock onto a target. This is how you intercept. All the basic fighting maneuvers, as we call it. So, but it's I've been doing this for about a year, still tweaking a few things, and
Yeah.
I'm still constantly getting better. None of it will be possible without the great people that I'm involved with, and my director who is sponsoring me. I would not be able to do this without him and without you guys who have an absolute love for aviation. So it's really fun, and the kids love it. The adults love it. Everyone, it's just awesome.
So if you're in the Canada area, whereabouts in Canada is it?
So I am stationed in Edmonton, Alberta. It is the capital of the province. So to those that are locals, I also volunteer myself at the Alberta Aviation Museum. I volunteer myself there on Saturdays for Simulator Saturdays, or as I like to call it, flight simulation training. Actually, there is an event that's coming up on March 9th, if I can plug that in, please, Mike.
Yeah, sure.
To anyone that is in the Edmonton, Alberta area or anywhere close to Edmonton, on March 9th, there is going to be an event at the Alberta Aviation Museum, which is celebrating the women of aviation. So all the classics of what's her name? What's her name? Who is it that flew over the Arctic Circle? Amelia Earhart.
Yeah,
That's her
Amelia
name.
Earhart. Yeah,
Amelia Earhart and all those great female pilots, and to those little girls and young women who have the dream of becoming the next top 1% female aviator. There is a celebration event where I will be presenting my fighter weapons school virtual reality combat dogfight school. So to those that are coming in, it is from 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. And this will be happening at the Alberta Aviation Museum. Once again, happening on March 9th. Hope to see you there.
yeah. Brilliant. And before we start, guys, we're going to start the movie in a second. I just wanted to give it 10 minutes to get people into the room. So get your DVDs, get your Netflix. It's not on Netflix. Get your Amazon up or however you're going to watch it. We're going to start it in a couple of minutes' time. But before we do start, you've got to do your good morning aviators. I really think that's so cool. He nails it every time.
All right. Good morning, aviators. This is your captain speaking. Welcome to the YouTube live stream of the magnificent Top Gun viewing event with your host, Mike Barnett, and his beloved guest, Maverick 114 cosplayer. Good to see you here.
Completely nailed it. I knew you would. Right, guys, let's start this movie. Are you ready? I'm ready.
Great.
The hat's
All right.
going on.
Get your hats on. Get your hats on.
Right, okay. So we'll give it a countdown of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5,
5,
4,
4,
3,
3,
2,
2,
1.
1. Take off.
Here we go. And I've put it on the screen here for reference, guys. So if you want, obviously, if you haven't got a copy of it, you can see it there. I don't want to get copyrighted, so there's no sound to it. But we're just gonna fill you in and talk about it. This is the best. I love this part of the movie. Actually, this is like just gets you so hyped, don't it? And especially with Top Gun Maverick as well when they've done this, it just brings back that feeling immediately. And every time I watch this film, I get that feeling,
That loving feeling?
that loving feeling. So another thing I said to Cam earlier on, but I've been reading the original Top Gun script, and this will make some really good points in the film when we're watching it, as it's completely different. And if you're a Top Gun fan and you want more, like we've had the second movie, and that gave me exactly what I wanted. But do you know what? I wish I read this years ago, because this is another movie. It's so cool. So we'll go through some of that as we're going through the film.
Hmm. Can I say one amazing fact about this?
Yeah.
It was
Anything. Keep
either
going.
yeah, it was either at this sequence at the beginning or when Maverick was throwing Goose's dog tags over the balcony that the captain of the USS Enterprise, which is the aircraft carrier that was used in the movie, they moved into a different direction and they lost the backlight, the precious backlight that the director Tony Scott had wanted. So what he did was he went on his megaphone or whatever and he said, "Hey, can we turn the aircraft carrier in this direction?" The captain's like, "Nope." And Tony, he said, "Okay, how much is it going to cost?" And they learned that it cost $25,000 to get the ship to the proper direction where Tony wanted, just so he can get a shot, and that was for 10 minutes.
You,
But it's amazing. Twenty
yeah.
five
And
thousand dollars to
the
move an
check
aircraft carrier.
apparently bounced as well, didn't it? The
Did
check,
it?
yeah. So he wrote that check, and he didn't, because before this, Tony Scott had only directed like one movie. He didn't have a lot of money behind him, and the production didn't have a lot of money behind it at the time either. So his bank account that he wrote that check from, he actually sent that off, and the check bounced. So they never got the
Oh.
Navy never got their money. So that's
Okay,
supposedly a true fact.
that's part of the whole movie. Watch this. There we go.
Yeah, this is the part where you're like, man, I want to be an F-14 Tomcat
Yeah,
pilot. Innit?
the sexiest Cold War fighter plane ever built, the F-14 Tomcat.
I love this sequence.
Sometimes I pretend in my mind it's like what would happen because I'm actually going to plug something in here that if anyone hasn't heard yet, Top Gun 3 is in the works
Yeah, yeah,
with
it's been
Tom
confirmed.
Cruise, Miles Teller, and Glenn Powell coming back. And my thing is, my first question was like, what are they going to do? But I have a theory. I think they're going to do the Duke Mitchell story, except Maverick is playing the Duke Mitchell role and how they go into battle and something bad were to go wrong, he saves a couple of planes and then he goes off. Right. I think that's what they're going to do, and then Rooster is going to play the Viper role in the next one, and the whole thing is going to
Yeah,
start all over again. That's
I've
just a
heard
theory.
rumors of this. I've heard rumors that they're going
Yeah.
to do the Duke Mitchell story, which would be really cool.
Yeah.
Um, and even if they decided that they weren't going to do that next, and when Tom Cruise eventually retires from doing these movies, I think it would make a really good story.
Well,
Um,
I don't know what they're going to do. It's interesting because we didn't know what they were going to do with the second one, and like I was a little bit nervous. I mean, I had lots of people come up to me and say, "Hey, they're making a Top Gun 2," and I'm thinking to myself, "Okay," and people think I'll be very excited, and I'm like, "Yeah, but what are they going to do?" That's the thing. Like the only thing that would make sense is that Maverick would go back to fighter weapons school and become an instructor. But how they did that, they say he was only there for 2 months and then he got out because he didn't feel like he belonged there. That's still a Maverick thing to do.
yeah,
He's still playing by everyone else's rules. He didn't like that, and either he wasn't good at it or because he was at a level that he can't. But he can't. It's not what he is; it's who he is. Like, how is he supposed to teach that? And he doesn't want other kids to be follow his footsteps and his mindset because it could get people killed. He's lucky.
yeah. When they first announced that there was going to be a Top Gun 2, I was excited, but at the same time, I was so like, I was worried that, do they need to do a Top Gun 2? It, was it best just being left as it was? And I was really like panicky about it. And but at the same time, I was like, I thought, I hope this is going to be good. And then when that trailer first hit, when they dropped that first trailer, I was
I
totally psyched.
I remember seeing the trailer like it was yesterday. It was
It was really
amazing.
just a brilliant trailer, wasn't it?
But anyway, we'll have more to talk about for Top Gun Maverick if and when we ever do decide to
Yeah, I
do
think maybe we do a Top Gun Maverick one.
it.
But this
Yeah.
scene is really interesting, actually.
Yeah.
So a couple of things. Firstly, I've got to say, and you'll probably know this because I know you've done your models and stuff, but the bandits in this, or the bogies as they call it in the film, that's another thing we'll talk about later on. But they're MiG-28s, and the MiG-28 is a fictional plane. It doesn't exist. These are F-5 freedom fighters, and they painted them black for the movie, and they put the star on. Now, you never hear what country they're from. We always think probably Russia or North Korea or something like that. The script actually states that they're from Russia. So that's something that we don't get in the movie. But I wanted to talk a little bit about, I don't know if you know this, Cam, but so know when they painted these planes black,
Yeah.
now their budget was really low. And the Navy said, if you paint them black, that's fine, but you've got to pay to put them back to their original colors after the movie.
Mhm.
So what they did was they painted them in a black rubber paint, and the rubber paint would peel off after the movie. So that's what they did, and then they had a nightmare filming it because that rubber paint near the end of the plane kept burning off with the heat from the engines. So they were constantly painting this black rubber paint back on them every time they landed. And that's just a cool fact about this part of the movie. They're not real planes. They're American F-5 freedom fighters. But again, going back to the budget, they didn't even have the budget to paint the plane back to its original color.
Yeah. Also, there's a gentleman that actually wrote a book called Top Gun Days by the name of David Barnett. He was one of the pilots of the MiG-28 in this movie, and I do follow him. I think I'm also friends with him on Facebook, but we don't talk all that much. But I'm hoping to get connected with him, learn more of his story. I mean, he did write the book, and I have seen a couple of interviews with him, and he's talking about his experience and his history of not only being in the Top Gun movie, but also being in the fighter weapons school program. So one day, I hope to get connected with him. But it's funny how you say freedom fighters, because if I understand correctly, I thought the Navy had the F-5E Tiger II.
You're right. It's the Tiger II, actually. Yeah, not the Freedom Fighter. The Freedom Fighter was the Air Force version, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's funny how you mentioned. Well, in the original script, you're right. They did say that it was Russia. However, I'm just gonna pause this fact for a minute because this is the best scene in the movie. You gotta pay our respects.
This is a good part.
Yeah. Greetings.
Yeah, this is amazing. And apparently for this, so we'll talk a bit more about this later on, but this was part of the article that gave inspiration for the film, and it said that pilots were taking pictures of contacts that they were having, and that's a true part. Some people might think that's fictional. I think the going inverted over the plane is not really going to happen, but the
No.
taking pictures was definitely a
Yeah.
thing that happened.
Yeah. So, all right. So back to my first point. Two things. So the script. They said that they was in Russia, right? However, I was listening to the director's commentary, and the script writer, either it was Jim Cash or Jack Epps Jr. He said that apparently they were supposed to be the North Koreans, but
Yeah,
they're running risk of not offending anyone because back then it was still during the Cold War, or during the space race, because this was in 1986, that they didn't want to offend anyone. Even the producer, Don Simpson, said that even it's not a patriotic movie. It's not supposed to be a glorified war movie. It's supposed to be about heart, guts, soul, honor, and I think they did a really good job trying to keep the enemy not specific. It's it's like a Saturday morning cartoon. Like you don't care who the enemy is. All you know is that they're bad, and it's an obstacle, but it's not a big deal.
yeah, 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 and that's it. Like, I think as a kid when I watched it, all the way through watching it, you kind of like you don't. you don't really need to know who that enemy is or where they are, because it's the story, isn't it? And that just the visual of this film and the cinematography of it is just amazing, and you just get sucked into it. You don't need to know those sort of details. And again, with the I think with when Tony Scott made this film, he was saying the Navy like had so many gripes about it. They didn't like certain things, and um, Tony Scott said, "I'm not making this film for F-14 pilots. I'm making this film for the general public." And there's a few things in here that that few mistakes they've made. Like was going off what I was saying about bogies. Now, a bogey's an unidentified aircraft. Once it becomes identified, it then becomes a bandit. And in this film, all the way through, no matter when they've got a visual on that aeroplane, they're still calling it a bogey. I think some things have been used because they sound cool, and they've just kept it simple as they possibly can.
This part right here, where you have Cougar, he's hyperventilating because his wife and kid are at home. He hasn't seen the kid yet. Um, to anyone that ever flown in the United States Navy that ever had to do night carrier landings, I have a massive amount of respect for United States Navy pilots, because if you were to ask any naval aviator what is the worst thing and the most feared thing that they can do while doing carrier ops, is night carrier operation, and that is landing on a carrier at night. You're basically landing a giant cargo plane on the postage stamp. And in
Yeah,
his case, it's like worst case scenario. He's hyperventilating. He has no idea what he's doing, where he is. His engine's running out of fuel, and somehow he makes it. But just having all of that up in your brain while also in that scenario of a night carrier landing, that it's, oh man, I it takes a real special person to do something like that. So huge amount of respect to the United States Navy, best pilots in the world, aside from the Canadian Air Force, of course.
and the
But
RAF and
that's
the
a biased
RAF.
opinion. That's a
Don't
biased
forget.
opinion. But if you have a naval aviator against a Canadian pilot, it will be a close fight. And depending on what is in the air, ooh, place your bets.
I've got to say something about the scene. Well, rewinding a little bit, but in that first scene, again going off the original script, Maverick and Goose never flew in the same aircraft. So Goose was up with Cougar, and the whole sequence was different. Cougar didn't lose his bottle. Cougar had a medical issue. He had vertigo. He couldn't tell if his plane was inverted or not. There was in a bad storm, and Maverick done normal takeoff and flew back around to get him and help him. But it was a completely different scenario to what we see there. And Maverick's Rio was Merlin, but they didn't call Merlin Merlin. His name was Wizard. And they must have changed his name from Wizard to Merlin. I think Merlin sounds better. But yeah, so that the whole scene was completely different. Like I said, I recommend anybody picking up the script and having a look at it, because it's really cool. And fact here. So does anybody know? Do you know what his name is? The Admiral.
The Admiral, I think his name is Jarkin, I think.
Do you know his call sign?
Stinger. No,
Yeah,
sorry, not
it's
yeah.
Stinger. It's Stinger. Yeah, yeah. Until I started reading the script, I didn't know that. So,
No, his call sign is Stinger.
yeah,
Which,
it was
you
come
know,
up at
what's
the end.
hilarious is that if you were to put this man in front of Pete Mitchell and Marty McFly, do you think he would give off the same vibe as he as he did? He's always yelling at somebody. That's the one thing I like about this guy, is that he's always yelling at somebody, but at the same time, it's constructive yelling,
Yeah,
right?
100%. And he pulls off smoking a cigar really cool, don't he?
Yeah, you can tell he's a boss because of that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So, to those of you who don't know, there's going to be a scene coming up here really soon, where Maverick, when he gets the call to go to the Top Gun Fighter Weapons School to be the best, because of course he could do that, he rides a Kawasaki Ninja TPZ 900R, and built in 1985. I know that because, fellow enthusiast. So to those of you who don't know, one of my plans or one of my goals is to one day in my career buy myself that motorcycle so that I can go to air shows and do exactly what he just did at air shows and race the F-18 off the flight line while he takes off, and you know,
That would be cool.
that would be sick. I mean, I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of safety things. I'm sure the safety police will be, all up in my butt about it. But I don't care.
I did the same. So when I was I had a well, I had the GPZ 900R and I had it in all the Top Gun colors. But my first bike I had was a Suzuki Gixxer 6. And the first thing I did when I got that bike was I rode to my local airport and I drove down that road and I waved as I was going down the road. I was so the only reason I bought a motorbike was because of Top Gun. And yeah, it was my dream to get the bike. I ended up getting it. I've sold it since, which I really regret. But interesting fact about that scene, I don't know if you knew, but Tom Cruise, we all know Tom Cruise is a daredevil stuntman and he does all his own stunts, rides his own bikes. But Tom Cruise never had ridden a bike before this movie. This was the first movie that introduced him to bikes as well as fighter jets. And that scene that you see him there punching in the air, you can see in the reflection of the bike that he's being towed. So he's not actually riding the bike in that scene.
There's some behind the scenes photos of that bike, or at least the body of it, on a rig while they're doing that whole sequence. But I was listening to a story from Tom that he was saying that he he did ride that bike. I mean, there was of course a lot of people, producers and people up on like doing stage work. They were asking him, okay, could you get in the car and we'll go meet you at this place? And he goes, I can't hear you. And he goes off on a bike to go and meet them there. So, I gotta tell you, I mean, it's a real. I don't think they did a much better job of casting Tom Cruise as Maverick than they did in this. He, even the writers, they said, listen, have I'm writing the scripts, okay? Have Tom Cruise in mind. And there was a point where, like, there was that Jerry Bruckheimer and the writers, they were sending the script, and they were saying, okay, it's coming to the agent. And Tommy's like, no, I'm not doing it. But he did say, but later on, he says, oh, I find this interesting. But he only wanted to do it if, one, he could fly up the F-14, and two, you know, he wanted to be involved with everything because he's a young actor, but he wanted to actually be able to tell stories. Because the reason why he does movies is because he wants to have a story to tell. So he was involved with everything, the marketing, whatever. And he was sitting in a room with a whole bunch of other people, and they were like, "Oh, why is this actor coming in? He doesn't know what he's talking about." And Tom was like, "Listen, oh, there you go." He's like, "Listen, I don't know what you do. I don't pretend to know, but please just let me learn so I'll be able to do this later on in my career." So, yeah.
It
In
was
fact, that lady, yeah,
they got him to
that
fly in
hello
an
lady,
A4, didn't they?
yeah, that
They took,
that lady that said hi, she's actually involved in a Top Gun group that I'm involved in on Facebook. I
oh,
forgot.
really?
Yeah, I forget her name, but whenever when she got invited into the group, says, "Oh, by the way, who she is." Everyone in that group, all they said to her was, "Hi." They all said, "Okay."
So this scene here, this is really like iconic for the movie. I don't know if you know the story behind this, but when they're at the bar, so when it comes on side, now you see the F-14 picture that's on the back of the bar in this
Yeah,
scene.
yeah.
So it's that well, not that picture exactly, but the photographer that took that picture is what kicked this entire movie off. So the guy that took that picture is a guy called Charles J. Heatley, sorry, and his call sign was Heater.
Mm,
Now he, the story goes that Jerry Bruckheimer went to the dentist and to get his teeth done, and there was a magazine on the desk. He picked up the magazine. It was California magazine that he picked up. Picked up the magazine, opened it up. The centerfold was an article called Top Guns, and like I was saying about the pictures being taken earlier on, it just detailed the rock and roll lifestyle of a fighter pilot and of a naval aviator, should I say? And that he put that down. He's like, this is like Star Wars on Earth. We need to get this movie made. That's what gave the inspiration. So the guy that took that picture in the article of the magazine was Heater, and he was a naval aviator, but he was also a naval photographer as well. And he took all these pictures. That picture on the wall is one of his pictures, and there's a guy sat at the bar now. You'll see him in a minute, and he's got bottles of Bud next to him. That guy is Heater. So he's in the
Oh yeah,
movie.
he's in the flight suit back there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, by the
And
way, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
so I was going to say also the guy that Charlie sits with,
Yeah.
that guy was the real Viper. So he was actually call sign Viper, and he was the main lead for this movie, and he was the technical advisor for the movie. So he's also in this scene as well. So you've got a lot of real Navy guys in this scene.
Yeah. Pete Pettigrew was his name. He was a
Pete
mid
Pettigrew.
sailor in the Vietnam War to crew the F4,
Yep.
and yeah, it's funny how I actually kind of feel bad for Pete Pettigrew because they gave the director, the producer, so many suggestions on how to make this show a little bit more authentic, according to the naval aviator and to the officers that are involved in the program. The problem was is that if it turned out to be everything that Pete Pettigrew suggested, it would not have been a movie. It would have been a documentary. But at the same time, you know, it's it's actually quite fortunate that he did that. That he actually let them get away with a lot of things they would normally not get away with. For example, actually, in the original script, Charlie, the character of Charlotte Blackwood, Charlie, she was supposed to be an enlisted student alongside Maverick, and they were supposed to take flight school together. And she was supposed to be a pilot or either a radar intercept officer, what have you. And they were supposed to fall in love. Now, the commander on the base said, "No, no, you cannot. You're not. I don't believe the script. You're not going to shoot here." When he read that, he says, "Well, we don't allow our officers to date one another because it may affect their performance." So the producer said, "Okay, well, what sort of interaction do your young pilots have with people that are on the base?" And the officer said, "Well, we have the RAND Corporation that comes and grades us and evaluates our performance." And the producer asked them if are any of them women, and the officer said, "Of course they are." So that's how they managed to get away with having Charlie and Maverick have their own little fling, is because you know she is a civilian in this case, right? So she has no ties to the Navy whatsoever. She's only a civilian contractor, so they're able to get away with it. There he is, Pete
There
Pettigrew.
he is. There he is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
So
a really cool story that they won't that they would they just wouldn't allow it to show two naval officers having a relationship, which well the Navy had a lot of say in this, didn't they? I suppose they had the production company over a barrel really because if they didn't like it, then they didn't have to supply the planes, and without the planes, there was no movie. So they had to all try and come together, didn't they, to make it work, and they really have. It's just such a cool film, and I love all this scene actually. I love not particularly the bathroom scene, but I mean I love the bar scene. I think we missed it as we were talking, but the you've lost that loving feeling. Man, how many times have you wanted to do that? Like it's just like so not cool. It's cool.
I take any chance that I can get at a karaoke night. I remember it was like it was yesterday. It was Halloween of 2019. I was dressed up in flight suit. Actually, I was in full gear as Maverick, and we were at a karaoke party. And there was two ladies that they asked me if I was able to sit. If they could sit at my table, and I said sure. But as soon as they sat down, I got up because I sang the song, and everyone clapped and cheered on for me. I got the audience all excited for it. I love this. I love those F-14s and the E-4 in the backdrop. It's just like, yeah, here we are.
This was going to be in a classroom, wasn't it? They when they come to record this scene, they were like, Pete Pettigrew was like, we've got the classroom set up, and they're like, no, we want to film it in a hangar. We've got like American flags. We want the A4 and the F-14 together, and we're going to film it in there. And yeah, it just worked, didn't it? I think if they'd done this in a classroom, it would just wouldn't be as iconic, would it? This scene again, every scene's an iconic scene, but this is such an iconic scene, and the cinematography of it, the feel of it, the guys look so cool. And another thing the Navy didn't like was Wolfman wearing his cowboy hat. They really didn't agree with that. And it is Wolfman, isn't it? Yeah, I'm right. It's Wolfman.
Yeah.
They didn't like him wearing his cowboy hat. And basically, I don't know if anybody knows this, but in real life, I can't remember the actor that plays his name. I'll find it later on.
Barry Tubb played him.
Yeah, he's actually a rodeo star, isn't he? Or he's done. He's one of his hobbies or passions is rodeo. He's a proper like country boy, and that's his. That's him. That's what he is. And Tony Scott was saying to the Navy is like, how we're trying to get to you to know these people as well from just visually seeing them on screen. So one of the ways they just let him wear his hat, and it works really well in this scene, but the Navy just would not allow that in regular life. I was in the Army; we would never have been able to do that. So I totally get where they're coming from, but I really think it makes the scene. It's just another one of those things that wouldn't really happen, but in the film it does, and it's good.
Two things I want to mention. The first bit where you have Iceman said bullshit, that was improvised. That wasn't scripted.
Yeah.
And second of all, I would get along with my friends. We would watch this scene, and every time we do, we always have a dress up party because that's what you have to do. And anytime the scene were to come up, people would look at me, and I would follow the mannerisms and the body language of Maverick here. In fact, you can see I'm doing the hand grip with the moving the thumb thing,
Doing the
and
pen.
they
I
were
always do the pen.
yeah, and people would look at me, and I would look back at them and be like, hey. And they were like, "You look so much like the guy. It's not even funny." Like here, watch this, watch this. So, Mike, I gotta ask you, actually, just out of curiosity, are there any lines that you use from the movie that people just immediately get along with, and you manage to get away with certain things just by saying a line from the movie?
What, any lines I've used in real life?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, let's say for example, like I'm going to tell you a story about. Remember when Maverick he shows up late to Charlie's house and he's like, if you don't mind, I'm just going to take a quick shower while you're finishing up here, right? Yeah, he has absolutely no idea who this woman is. Really, she allowed a stranger into her house, and he asked to use her shower, right? I'm sure that has worked well in the past, and we'll talk about more of that scene later. But that bit actually, I remember I was at a girl's house, and like we just met that one night, and I forget what I was doing. I think I was jogging along the track or something. I was doing some fitness stuff, and she met up later on with me, and then she invited me back over to her place, and I was like, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna take a quick shower while you're finishing up here, and she allowed me to take a shower in her house.
She didn't come back with yeah, I do.
It was funny.
I'll tell you a little story about me being at a girl's house, and this is a little bit embarrassing, but I went around a girl's house on the first date, and she said, "Do you want to watch a movie?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course. Let's watch Top Gun." So we watched Top Gun, and I quoted it word for word all the way through the film, and it kind of ruined the evening. Let's just say that. So
Oh, she didn't. Oh, she didn't marry you that night. No.
I really, all my complete geeky Top Gun side came out and just ruined it for myself, I think. But
Oh,
yeah,
it was her loss anyway. It was her loss anyway. Come on,
yeah, it
Tony.
was her loss. Her loss, definitely. I love
Can
this
I just
scene
mention,
again. This
can
is
I just
this.
mention about the entire flight sequences in this movie? Is that this was filmed in 1984 to 1985. I'm just going to remind the people that are watching this. This was in 1985 that all these scenes were filmed. To think that you can get aerial dogfight sequences like this through the dynamic of it, through the the framing of it, and just the amount of intensity of all these dogfight sequences. Like they put cameras on the F-14. They actually had that as their camera bird, and they actually had a Lear jet. They also had mountaintops to do some stationary flight sequences, and they just came back with like I think it was like 16 hours worth of media that they all try to make a story work. Like all these shots aren't random. Like all these shots here, they were all shots at random. They were choreographed, but Tony Scott he learned that how unpredictable, no matter how well you plan out a scene with dogfighting,
Yeah,
it could
yeah,
be very very unpredictable. And there was one shot that was extremely difficult where you had the three A4s. This was top 31. You had three A4s that were coming in. You had the two F-14s coming in. You have one A4 split off. The other two went away, and you had the two F-14s chase it. That was the most difficult shot that was ever filmed in that movie. The most difficult. And to think that they could pull it off without GoPros, without any fancy things,
yeah,
was
yeah. No
absolutely amazing.
CGI, no GoPros, no. And we've got to give a shout out and a mention to Lesson really Art Scholl, who lost his life filming for this film, and the film's dedicated to art. You'll see it at the very end. But some people might not like back then. There wasn't the internet, so a lot of people, when they watched this film years and years and years ago, didn't know who he was or anything about him. Um, but Art Scholl was one of the cinematographers for the film. He was a pilot cinematographer, so he specialised in doing aerial footage, and he was practicing They were doing some footage for the flat spin when Goose died, and unfortunately, Art crashed, didn't he? And they lost a really good man on that day.
That scene in the whole movie is a flyby. In
Yeah, the
real
flight.
life, okay, to any young pilots that are wanting to do this, I gotta tell you, you will lose your wings if you do that.
And that was the guy who done that's actually a space astronaut as well. I don't know if you know, but so that was
Who,
Mavericks.
who
Mavericks.
was it?
So
It
his
was
name was Scott
Bozo.
Altman.
Bozo did
Bozo.
that. Yes.
Scott Altman.
Yeah.
So Bozo was the first guy to take Maverick up for a flight, and they ragged him around and they said that we're going to give him the flight of his life, and they done all sorts of stuff with him. It was that flight that Bozo took Maverick up in that sold the movie to Tom Cruise,
Yeah.
and Bozo done some of the stunt flying on this, and he was the guy that done that flyby, and yeah, that day apparently from reports, what they said is like the people on the base didn't. Some of the people didn't know the film was being filmed, and they were like, holy crap, what is going on here? Is this guy like got a death wish? Does he want to finish his naval career right now? And
Yeah.
buzzing the tower just doesn't happen in real life. And yeah, he did it. He got the opportunity to do that. So it's really good. I love this scene. I love this. I love this. It's and this scene here just shows how cool the guy that plays Viper,
Um.
Tom Skerritt.
I'm seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just such a cool guy, isn't he? Like I can't. He would be how I would imagine Maverick's dad to be a little bit. I think he's just like he's one of the equivalent. Like I served in the military. You get some absolute idiots of hierarchy, officers, sergeant majors, or whatever. But this guy is like the definition of a cool guy. He's been there. You can tell he's been there with the blokes. He's used to seeing all these things happen, and he just treats this situation so coolly. I think lets him know he's the boss, but at the same time, he's not a dick about it. And I love the bit where he's just like this just about covers flybys and just like brushes over that, and then goes in at him. But yeah, I love Viper. He made another part of the film. Like all these characters come together so well. But yeah, he's just a really good guy. I like Viper.
Yeah. Huge shout out
And
to Tom Sawyer. If he is by any chance watching this, huge shout out to you, my friend.
yeah, man, that's Tom. You make this film, and you would your character has definitely done the real Viper proud. I think like this, he's just a good guy, just a really good character, good actor. So with Jester, I like Jester. Jester's a good
Michael
character.
Irons, huh? Yeah. He's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So
Charlie was
one
so young. I don't know
go ahead.
who. Charlie was so young when they filmed this. I think she was like 22, 24, something like that when they filmed this film. She wasn't.
29.
How
29 was
29 was she?
yes. She was
Yeah,
29. Tom Cruise was 23 when he filmed this.
yeah. So young, really. And she looks a lot. She acts a lot older than 29, doesn't she?
She's very mature. I remember she was in a movie called Witness with Harrison Ford, and I haven't seen the movie, but I think she carries such a presence that yes, she is a lady. Yes, she is in a I guess what you call a man's world, a man dominated industry, but at the same time, she doesn't play it off as like a damsel in distress or a whiny person. She she plays it off as someone that has an education, that she can talk to these guys, can lecture to these guys, has a maturity to her. Maybe it's an age or a mental maturity, and that's why Tony Scott liked her so much.
Yeah,
Also because of Witness, and then we all know the scene that we're talking about. But yeah. Can I mention something else?
yeah, of course.
The soundtrack, not
Yeah,
not not the one where you have Kenny Loggins and you have Berlin singing "You Lost the Love and Feeling." I'm talking about the Harold Faltermeyer soundtrack. You see it in here. It's a ensemble score. It's like it contemplates your thoughts, your feelings, making big decisions. It's very simple. You have a guitar playing. You have Harold Faltermeyer's synthesizer playing in the background. And huge shout out to Harold Faltermeyer. He brought he brought the score to life. I remember I was reading something or I saw something how they actually did the Top Gun anthem with Steve Stevens a week. I think it was a week before or after they started shooting for the movie, and that song was the tone of what this movie was going to be. So,
yeah. The soundtrack is it's a brilliant soundtrack, and like I say, the and going to saying about Top Gun Maverick as well. There's so many songs in that film that you don't realize are there, but they're making that scene, and they're like underrated. I know you've got the classic ones that we all know, Danger Zone and the rest, but yeah, the whole soundtrack for this movie is brilliant, and it just gets you in that mood for that scene, doesn't it? Like, they've done a really good job. And someone mentioned it earlier. I think it might have been Rich actually who mentioned it earlier, saying like the music in this movie is amazing, and the music is as good as the movie, isn't it? Like the amount of times I've listened to the Top Gun uh, movie soundtrack is like countless. It's on my playlist. If I was to go into my Spotify now, it's like it's there in the top 5 sort of thing of my most played songs.
there's a callback from the first Top Gun movie in the sequel. Actually, it involves this scene. People not recognize it right away, but remember when Maverick and Roost they were up against the fifth generation fighters? How you have the F-14 and the two fifth gens, right? This is fifth gen number one, fifth gen number two. Remember when Maverick said, "If I reverse on a hard cross, I can immediately go to gun zone him."
Yeah,
Charlie said, "Oh, it's the speed. It's too fast. It's a little bit too aggressive." Well, when you're in a dogfight scenario, Maverick is absolutely right. You don't have time to think up there because if you think, you're dead. It's not based on the manual. It's not based on the NATOP. It's not based on okay. What are the aerodynamics workings of the airplane? I mean, I'm sure some of them do come into play, but at the end of the day, it's all about your instinct.
Yeah, and again, I thought he actually that I didn't really put this together until a little while after Top Gun Maverick, but he actually says that in this movie. So the whole "don't think, do" in Top Gun Maverick comes from this movie, where he's like, from that scene where he's with Charlie. Then that's where that all comes from. So yeah, but he's totally right, especially when you're in like flying combat situations, high stress situations. Like I can only do this from like private pilot license or being in the military, but it's like you repeatedly do things so they're instilled in your brain, so you don't have to think about them, that they're there and you just do. And that's it. That's why they fly the planes so much. That's why they practice. That's why they go in the simulators. That's why, because they're not there to think. They're just there to do. And yeah, it makes so much sense.
So this sequence was completely out of whack, meaning that it had absolutely no correlation to the story whatsoever. Tony Scott just felt like shooting the shit and have these guys come out because there was a magazine. I forget what it's called. It was a magazine where you have a lot of these guys that were sitting in old Cadillacs and old Chevys, and they were shirtless. It was like a what is it? What's it called? Anyway, so a lot of these guys, they were shirtless and they were doing all this sort of thing. So the only reason why Tony Scott did this scene was not only to show off the guys to the young ladies, and of course, some girls that like to see a man in uniform and fighter pilots and things like that, but he just wanted to show off the guys. But he was like doing some sort of music video or something, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Paramount, they were looking at this like, what the heck is going on here? It's like, well, it's just there it is. I don't know. It's just yeah. Yeah.
This is the
Anytime I'm late, yeah.
this is
Anytime I'm
the
late for
shower
an
scene.
appointment, yeah. Anytime I'm late for an appointment, I always say it. I say that that exact thing. Anytime I'm late for anything, I look down on my watch. Oh God, we're just such nerds, aren't we? Yeah.
Yeah, the this is the shower scene.
Mm-hmm. No, no singing. No, he's late. No, he feels bad. There you go. No singing. Sorry.
Then you get references for the Duke Mitchell in this bit, don't you, where his mom played the record when his dad died, and just sets the tone, don't it? Just the whole mystery behind Maverick's father and what happened. And
That smile right there tells him, okay, this lady is smart. She's not. She's not an airhead. Because you can tell this guy has a history, right, of slinging with young ladies. I mean, of course,
yeah,
we
yeah.
all know about Penny Benjamin, but there could have been others in between Penny Benjamin and Charlie, and you can tell just by that smile, just like,
Have
yeah,
you ever been to San Diego? Have you ever seen the house? Because the house is still there, isn't it?
the house is still there. No, I haven't gone, but I did had an opportunity to go, but the timing and where I was at the time was not right. I had an opportunity to go to the flight deck of the USS Midway for the Top Gun Maverick premiere. I had some buddies that they were doing an event. They were hosting the event, and they had tickets. And it could have been an awesome opportunity for me to meet Tom Cruise and to meet some of the crew, and to actually watch the movie on the inflatable screen. They used to host Top Gun Day on May 13th, but the guy who runs it, he decided that 2023 was going to be his last year to do it because of all the hard work that goes into it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's amazing every year, but it's a shame that I can't do that. But I want to go. That's a mission for me to go to San Diego and just do my rhetoric. You know
Mate,
what I mean?
I want to go as well. So we should probably, if the time's ever right, we should meet up. We should go. We should do it together. Go and fulfill our dream together.
I'll hold you to that because I also
Yeah,
have some other people
I'm
on my
definitely up
list
for
that
that.
want to teach me doing this. So, to those of you who don't know, the actual F-14 that was used in the movie as Maverick F-14 is sitting on the flight deck of the USS Lexington in Texas.
Did
So,
they? Did they? If I remember rightly, did they? They painted it back to its original colors, to the movie colors, didn't they? The museum didn't want to paint it. They wanted to keep it as it was with its original markings on, but they did put the VF1 one, didn't they?
yeah, so the story is the USS Lexington, they carried the F-14, but it had the VF-84 Jolly Rogers markings on it. So the airplane that was used in the movie did have the VF-1 markings on it, but then when it retired, it got stationed to the USS Lexington, got repainted as Jolly Roger, and then there was a campaign or something, or like there was one of those
They did a
petitions. They
yeah.
signed a petition to have them either be restored in Jolly Roger or get repainted as the Maverick F-14, and of course they got the latter. So yeah, I want to
It
give a
was
huge shout out to the organizer Matthew Lawlor, who is in charge of the Top Gun Props and Costumes Forum. If you guys want to sign up, any Top Gun enthusiasts that want to sign up, there is a group on Facebook, Top Gun Props and Costumes Forum, that he's in charge of, and he's the one that was responsible for making that F-14 repaint.
yeah, that's really cool. They found the one that was that was the one that Bozo flew, wasn't it? And done the buzz of the that's the F-14 that buzzed the tower. Which there was the other there was a so I don't know if a lot of you know this, but America sold a lot of their F-14s to Iran. It was Iran, wasn't it? I think it was Iran.
Right.
And yeah, and we fell out with them, and we didn't want to give them any spare parts or allow them to have a supply chain for the F-14s that they had. So basically, they scrapped and shredded pretty much their entire fleet of F-14s, and I think about 100 survived. From
Real shame.
yeah, and for me, and you actually probably being in Canada, there's none in the UK. And I don't think there will never be one that comes to the UK because America won't export them. One of the planes I've always wanted to see, and unless I go to America, I'm never going to see it. So that's another reason why I want to go to Midway and have a look, because there's an F-14 on the deck there, isn't there?
Yeah.
And I really want to go. But here in the UK, nothing like that. Nothing at all.
No, we're cool, but we're not that cool.
Oh man, it's it's a shame, and it's such a shame. But yeah. This scene, really interesting fact about this scene. So this scene was recorded after the movie, and so Kelly McGillis there, her hair's a different color. That's why she's wearing the cap, and all her hair is tucked back, because her hair's a different color. And Maverick's hair's wet and slicked back because his hair was longer as well. They filmed this months after the film was filmed, so that's why they put him in as if he'd just come out of the shower, because they wanted to slick back his hair. And so this scene was filmed a long time after, but you wouldn't know unless you're told, would you? It's done really well.
Yeah. It was this scene as well as the blue silhouette makeout scene that was also filmed after the movie, because they did a screening for the audience that they loved the movie, but everyone actually kind of came to a conclusion that they all wish they had more of a love story. So that was the only reason why those two scenes existed, was of the screening. Oh, look,
Yeah,
here comes Meg Ryan, or I
this
think
was
he,
Meg Ryan's
uh,
first
yeah,
ever movie, I think, wasn't it?
yeah, I think so. She was an unknown. They liked her energy. That's why they signed her on. And there's little Bradley Bradshaw, aka Rooster. That's a old Starscream Transformers action figure that he was holding.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was. They had the markings of Starscream's action figures for it. if you paid attention on the tail, they had the stripes that went down, and they had the blue, the red, and the
Okay.
white. Yeah, that was Starscream. Carol, that's her name. Carol Bradshaw.
Yeah, it's really sad. Like I was reading the script as well, but like the Goose, I just think I wish he never died. He was such a cool character. I really liked Goose, and yeah, it still makes me sad every time I watch this film, and I see especially the Great Balls of Fire scene, and he's got little Bradley there, and like I'm a father myself to three boys, and it just makes me so sad every time I watch it. It makes me sad, but yeah,
It's a shame. It's a shame, but for the story, it's necessary, in
yeah,
my opinion.
yeah. Well,
And
they originally killed off Tom Cruise. They originally killed off Maverick.
really,
Yeah. So in earlier copies of the script, the idea was to kill Maverick and leave Goose behind. And they done a, I don't know if they done a script reading, I think maybe, and they said nah, it's got to be Goose that dies, not Maverick. And also if you read the script as well, when I the weird thing came to my mind when I was reading the script was it wasn't what's his Anthony Edwards who came to mind when I was reading the script. It was Matthew Perry, funny enough, and the way it was the character, the way they got Goose had so many more lines in the original script, um, more than Tom Cruise, especially in the first part of the script. It was Goose all the time, and as they were witty lines, they were like one-liners he kept coming off with, just like Chandler Bing. And yeah, I was reading it and I was like, Matthew Perry would have been amazing. Like, I think Matthew Perry's probably a little bit too young to be in this movie. But I mean, as I was reading that script, Matthew Perry came to mind.
I also remember that Charlie Sheen wanted to be involved in this, but he was also too young. He was like 19 when he got the call. But they later on did a parody movie with Mel Brooks called Hot Shots. So he
Yeah,
got
yeah,
his
Hot
little.
Shots is amazing. Yeah, I love Hot Shots. One thing I've got to say, I'm going to put in here, but there's a question to ask, and it is why is Charlie driving a £300,000 car? Right, so that's the port. Well, the car is actually a replica that was made for the movie. It wasn't the real car, but
Right.
her character is actually driving a Porsche 356 Speedster. Sorry, and that car in today's money is £300,000. Back in then, it would have been £100,000 car plus. So it's that's a question that needs to be asked.
Well, I'm assuming it's because of the fact she was contracted by the military,
Yeah, she must
and
have been on a
because they were
well paid.
contracted, she was getting very well paid. Hence
Yep.
why in the later movie you see Maverick. He flies a P-51. He owns a P-51. He owns a hangar. He owns an RV trailer. Like I'm sure someone got some investment tips.
Yeah, definitely. She must have. He must have got some financial advice off Charlie.
I remember I was younger. I never understood the scene. All I know is that they were kissing, and being a 5-year-old, I was like, kissing.
Yeah, man. This
And
scene.
then when you, as soon as you hit junior high or high school, like you notice exactly what he's doing. I'm not gonna say what it is, but let's just say, um, um, yeah, let's. Things are getting heated up.
yeah, it still
The
flusters
hard
you.
deck is getting heated.
I this scene always makes me cringe. Like it always has done. Um,
I need to do that paper airplane thing.
that's one thing I've always wanted to do
The paper
myself.
airplane thing and the
Aeroplane.
flower was nice.
That's
It's
pretty cool.
subtle. I don't think it will pass in today's standards of dating or not that I have,
It's pretty cool though. And apparently he stood on a when they were kissing, he had to stand on a box. That's what I was
Okay.
told.
All right, we got to do this together. Okay, ready? I'll start.
Okay.
I feel the need
The
the
need
need First
speed.
speed.
Ow!
There you go.
We need to rehearse that more.
God, those planes are sick.
I always, that scene where it's like he comes up to him, I never knew what he said until not long ago as well. It's like you hear about ice, and I'm like, what does he say? But it's he won another one. I don't know if many people know that or not, but
Well, you must have won another hop.
he won another hop, I think. Yeah.
Can I tell you an interesting fact? The Top Gun trophy was actually just a gimmick.
Yeah, it never existed.
No, it doesn't exist because the thing is that it's you're dealing with the top 1% of aviators in the United States Navy for one. Number
Yeah.
two, it's already a very competitive field, and now you're going to add in a trophy to it. And just imagine with that a lot at stake, with these young fighter jockeys with testosterone and shit like that, you would think that adding a trophy to all of this would not be the best thing to do. But for the sake of the movie, like there has to be some sort of something that comes out of this whole training bit. So the Hollywood came out with a Top Gun trophy, but in real life it doesn't exist.
Well, apparently they when they were writing the script for it, and they kind of all aligned on how they wanted the movie to be portrayed. They said that they wanted it to be a sports movie. So they were saying that naval aviators, they're pulling 5 to 9 Gs. They're physically fit guys, and that goes in with the volleyball scene, with the locker room scene. So there's no such thing as a locker room. I'm like I say, I'm ex-military. You don't get a locker room. They say there's no locker room. I'm not American, so I don't know what it's like there. But from what the Americans have said, there's no locker room scenes, and they wanted to portray like a sense of rivalry, a sense of sportsmanship, um, building that rivalry between Maverick and Iceman. So that's why all this sports was brought into the movie, and it worked. It worked really well, and that it gave it that edge. And like I say, the trophy again was all about the sports. Having a trophy to say who is the best was the whole idea of bringing that together. But again, that was a Hollywood thing, but it made the film more interesting. It just gave it a purpose, and other than going out to war at the end, it gave something else to focus on, which was good, and also showing the dangers of training. And again, being ex-military myself and knowing what it's like, we don't always lose people at war. There's a lot of guys that are lost during training exercises because you train so hard to fight hard, and it portrays that in this, which is it's really realistic. One thing as well, right? So you'll be able to answer this, but what was the main reason behind Top Gun? The whole school, it was to teach ACM
On
and
March, well, you see, on March 3rd of 1969, the United States Navy established an elite fighter school for the top 1% of its pilots. The reason why that was is if those of you that were paying attention at the very beginning when you had Jester, he was talking about kill ratios, right? During the war in Korea, they had a kill rate ratio of 3 to 1. Sorry, of 12 to 1. 12 bad guys for every good guy, right? When it came to Vietnam, however, when new technology was introduced, when missiles were brought up to the playing field, the pilots relied too much on the new advanced weapons, on the bombs and on the missiles, that when it came to dogfighting, they were losing one guy out of every three bad guys. So what happened was the United States Navy established this school to help teach one pilot, or at least one pilot from each squadron, to come into this school to learn about not only how to use the new way of warfare, but also the old classic way of doing warfare. It's not all about missiles. It's all about spatial awareness. It's all about using guns. It's all about, hey, it's all collaborated on, okay, knowing where you are and how to use your weapons properly and how to think faster than the other guy. So the school was established to help pilots regain the 12-to-1 kill ratio, and they succeeded, of course.
And also so the not relying on the missiles and to do the dogfighting, but the one thing that they did not do in this movie is nobody shot anybody down with a well, none of the good guys shot anybody down with a single bullet. It was all
No, but yeah, I mean you're absolutely right, which kind of is actually kind of interesting because
yes.
if you notice on the MiG-28 when he's shooting his tracers at Iceman,
Yeah,
you have the tracers coming from the wings. That's not accurate. It's coming from the nose of the aircraft. The
yeah.
machine guns. I actually have a friend who flew the F-5 Freedom Fighter, and he tells me firing the gun from an F-5 is the best thing that you can do.
Yeah, I can imagine because it'd be like almost like an A10, wouldn't it? Like when you're flying the A10 and they've got the cannon in the front and it pushes the aeroplane back a little bit as you fire. It'd be amazing to feel. And the F5's so light as well. It's such a small plane. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Fun fact about this bar. This bar was an actual place in San Diego. Unfortunately, I think it was about 5 years ago or something like that. It caught fire, so the building no longer exists. But um, they had to move all of their memorabilia over to another building, and that became the Kansas Barbecue House, which is another place where I want to go.
Yeah, well, if we go, we'll have to go all these places. I love this scene. This is again one of my favorite scenes. Love it.
Yeah, so fun.
Sad. Makes me sad though. It makes me happy and sad at the same time.
They made Goose's character so good that when you kill him off, it's an absolute thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I have a theory on that. I'm not gonna say it yet, but when we get to after when we see the flat spin, I'm going to tell you a theory that I have.
Okay.
Okay. But right now, let's just enjoy this.
I love the difference in the two as well. Like they're like chalk and cheese. Like you've got Maverick with the Ray-Ban aviators, the round ones, and you've got Goose with the square ones. They're just two different characters. They separate them so well. Maverick's in dark clothing, Goose is in bright clothing. They're just yin and yang, aren't they?
Yeah. Whoever did the costume design, big shout out to you. Good job.
I'd love to do this. I'd love to get that motorbike
Yeah.
and just ride along the docks. Be so cool. They used two bikes in the movie as well.
Yeah. One of them was for him to ride on, and the other one was for the rig.
Yeah. And they scratched them all up.
This movie is really, really orange. Can I just say that?
It's really
It's
what?
very,
Sorry.
it's very orange.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
They've got a
when they were
very
doing the editing and the cutting, like this whole thing is just look at that plane. It's just so beautiful.
yeah.
Canada almost had those really. Canada almost had the F-14 in their arsenal back in 1978, but due to budget cuts, we had to go with the F-18, which does its job, but at the same time, it's Tomcat all the way. Tomcat, anytime, baby.
The Tomcat is beautiful. I've had to settle to love the Phantom because that's as much as I can see over here, but I do. The Tomcat is my all-time favorite. Oh, can you see? It came.
Oh, wonderful! That's
There it is.
beautiful.
Oh, there it is.
Now I need it. Now I need one. Yeah.
So,
Anyway,
fun fact about the
orange.
watch.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. What was you going to say?
I was gonna say orange, right? Because the tone when they were doing the editing, it felt like one long sunset. Everyone was saying it was beautiful, but there wasn't really much of a story when it came to editing the movie later on. Anyway, you were saying.
Yeah, I was saying about the Maverick's watch. So, did you notice there's two watches he wears in the film?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so I think we've missed the scene. It might be at the end as well because I think they've used the same scene, the same cut. So we'll look out for it. But Maverick also wears a Rolex Submariner as well. Um, so there's one scene where he's flying and he hits the brakes. And also, when they hit the brakes in the movie, they do it the opposite way. So, like, you will see Maverick push the throttle into full military, or might even be afterburner. He goes full forward, and that's not how you would do it. You'd pull it
No,
back.
but I think here's my scenario. Okay, in order to get up high enough, you have to push the throttle forward until you're at enough altitude. That way, you have the space for him to come underneath you. That way, you first pull up, you first push the throttle forward, you pull up, and then after that, you just pull the throttle right back immediately.
Yeah, yeah. So I would imagine that you would pull up, pull back, let it go back, and then throttle to go up.
Yeah.
So, but either way, uh, in that scene, you won't see that watch. You'll see a Rolex.
Oh, okay. This actually does happen with the F-14 quite common. Is
Yeah,
that
in
they're
the
they
F-14 A's and B's, wasn't it? I think.
so the F-14A, the number one issue with the F-14A was the engine. It would you would go into a super advanced maneuver like this, and one of them would stall on you, and you would just go into a flat spin. And if you don't react quick enough, let's say that you have the F-14 is spinning, okay, clockwise, okay, you have about a good 3 seconds to push the yaw to the left, and also pivot the aircraft to the left, push the stick to the left to counter it, right? So you have to counterclockwise it in order to make the amount, in order to get the recovery in it. But in this scenario, it didn't.
And also with that as well, this was based off a real accident. So it was Pete Pettigrew when they asked him. They said, "Well, what what the writers wanted to do was have a mid-air collision between two F-14s."
Mm-hmm.
And the Navy said, "No, we don't want that. That's not something we would accept as on our part of the deal." So they had to rewrite it and go, "Okay, what accidents have happened that have not involved a mid-air collision and in a non-combat situation?" So he came up. He actually knew. I'm not sure if they died in the accident, but he knew of this accident actually happening, and that's where this came from. And another fact about this apparently is so Tom Cruise, so Maverick blames himself for the loss of Goose and takes it hard, as understandably as you would. But in that situation, in a flat spin where he's pinned, the reason why he doesn't eject is because he's pinned forward through the centrifugal force. So he's pinned forward. Goose has got more of a center of axis point, so he can just about get to the ejection handle. But what Goose should have done, I know they were losing altitude fast, and you could see it was 7,000, 6,000, so it was going fast. But Goose should have should have jettisoned the canopy first, and waited until that low pressure area had gone and the canopy had released itself, and then ejected, and that would have set the ejection sequence off between the pilot and the Rio. So in effect, it was Goose's fault that he died, not Tom Cruise's.
Well, yes, because in a regular scenario, you have to wait. Like the Rio had to pull the canopy off first, wait, make sure it's gone, then eject the pilot first, and then eject himself. But in that scenario, I mean, he got in panic mode. And also, it's funny that you mentioned that because this is the theory that I want to talk about.
Oh, we've
Okay.
just lost 1 second. We've
Oh,
just lost the movie. We've
oh,
just lost the movie. I don't know why.
oh, oh! It got switched.
Oh,
It's
it's come
still
back.
here.
It's come back. It's come back.
Okay.
There we go.
Anyway, so I have a theory. You know how everyone is speculating, was it Maverick's fault? Was it Iceman's fault? Right?
Yeah.
Even dismissed it. The Navy said no one was at fault. right? They dismissed the case because it was a mechanical error. I think it was Goose's fault, and let me explain why. Okay, because if you heard the entire encounter, Iceman, he was taking his time trying to get a lock on the A4. But if you notice, Goose was kind of pushing Maverick forward a little bit. He's like, "Come on, Ice, get the hell out of there! Get out of there! Get out of there!" Like we want
Yeah,
to get in. Ice, like Maverick says, "Oh, I got the shot." Except Goose was kept on saying, "Come on, Mav, let's get in there. Let's get in there. Come on, Ice, get the hell out of there!" Like he was pushing
yeah,
Maverick forward a little bit because he kind of enabled Maverick based on, hey, how close the program is finished. Iceman was taking his time. Maverick got the shot. Goose is getting impatient. Even Slider was saying, he's like, dude, Ice, get the hell out of there. They got the shot. Like, get out of here. Like, I think Goose was the one that was responsible just
yeah,
for the fact that
100%.
he
I think
enabled,
Maverick was doing the flying, and
yeah, he enabled Maverick to, he kept pushing Maverick forward. He kept enabling Maverick to put pressure on Iceman to get the shot, which at the end of the day got the better of him.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
a weird theory. It's not something that I'm sure not a lot of people think of, but I recently came up with that like a year ago.
And
It's really
one
sad.
of the facts is, well, if that was a British aeroplane, we would have survived. Because I heard one American pilot say a long time ago, don't know why the British like to eject through their canopies, because most of our canopies have explosive rigged into them, and then we jettison, we pull the ejection handle, it rigs the explosion, and you go straight through the canopy. And that's one of the reasons why the British do that, is because if the canopy doesn't move out of the way, you can go through it. And if it was a British design on there, Goose would have been alive.
Maybe this whole scene is really sad. You know,
Yeah.
in the military, I'm sure you know this that whenever you have a comrade that go away, the only thing you have to do now is put their entire life into a box.
So we
You
have
put
things
them,
called MFO boxes in the military, in the British military anyway. And an MFO box is where you send all your stuff to your next destination. So if you're going to another base or whatever. So unfortunately, I've had to do that in real life for myself, for someone that I serve with, and you literally you go into their room, and you just have a box, and you just put all of their stuff into that box, and you do. I don't know if you've ever seen Memphis Belle, but they go through one of the guy's boxes when he's been killed, and they start taking all the porn out and taking all the stuff that they don't want their parents to see. That is so real. We've done exactly the same. You put in the box what you want to send home, and you clear the other stuff out. But yeah, it's horrible. It's really sad. This scene is really sad. Um,
I'm sorry to hear that you have to do that, but my condolences to you.
yeah, man, it's military life can be hard. It's a hard life, but it's the reality of it. And I think this is where this hits it, like really hits you. Like it's a good film, really good film.
Mm-hmm.
It
About
increased Navy, it increased Navy recruitment by 500% when it came out.
yeah, everybody wanted to be Maverick, which
Yeah,
I don't blame him. I don't blame him. If I was around during that time, and if you know what, if we had the same amount of opportunities that we do back then, I would have signed up. But yeah, see, this is you have a lot of people. For example, by the way, huge shout out to California Tom Cruise. First of all, I love your work, and you know what, keep doing what you're doing, mate. First of all, a lot of people like to refer Top Gun as like a huge rock and roll movie. Like how you say it's a sports movie. For a lot of people, I think it's a drama. It's a military drama that has sports elements into it. But when Goose goes away, I kind of like to portray Maverick on more of the serious tone than that happy-go-lucky, smiling all the time. Because if you notice, Maverick doesn't smile a whole lot in this movie.
no,
Even here, even the poster behind me, he doesn't smile.
I think the smiling is a misinterpretation when you've got like some people that are doing the impressions of him, and that's more Tom Cruise, not Maverick. The character of Maverick's really complex, and he when they filmed this film, Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer, brilliant actor as well. They stayed in character when they was offset as well as onset, and as much as they mixed with all the other guys. They had parties. They went out. Apparently, Jerry Bruckheimer threw a party like 3 times a week for this, to get the crew together and to get all the characters to bond. But when they had those parties, if Tom Cruise went, Val Kilmer wouldn't, and if Val Kilmer went, Tom Cruise wouldn't, and they stayed apart for the filming of this so they could have that frosty relationship on stage, and I think it worked really well. They're both two brilliant actors.
Apparently, Val Kilmer pulled a prank on Tom. They were out in the middle of a football field doing some sort of a rehearsal thing. Val brought in a case of wine, and he handed Tom the cases of wine. And he asked him, "Hey, could you hold on to this?" He said, and Tom, he's like the nicest guy in the world. No matter what anybody says about him, Tom, you know, if you ask anyone, "Hey, how do you feel about Tom Cruise?" They will say, "Oh, he's awesome. He's a gentleman. He's extremely amazing." Anyway, so Val handed Tom the case of wine, and he walked off, and he made Tom carry the case of wine. He was just doing little stunts like that, just to kind of
Yeah,
throw a little fluff into the water here. Which, at the end of the
I
day,
get
yes,
the impression that Tom was very much the A-lister on this movie, and I get the impression that he didn't do a lot of carrying things around. And the way Val even said, didn't he? He was like, he was such a nice guy about it. He was so thankful that he bought him the wine, but they was just laughing at the fact that he had to carry it all the way off that football field.
yeah, that was a dick move.
Like I say, I told you before, I've not met Tom as in next to each other, but I've been very close to him when I was flying, and I waved to him and he waved back to me, and he's just a really cool guy, a really nice guy, and everybody that like does know him, and the people I know from UK Aviation, they've all said the same to me. Just a really nice guy. He's really genuine. He's obsessed with aviation, and yeah, he no one really has a bad word to say about him. And all these people that do, I just think that they're just jealous and trying to find trying to just put him down.
Mm. This scene, low key, is kind of irritating for a couple things. Well, okay, so Wolfman gives whoever it was on the other line a call. I'm
I
assuming
think
it's
he calls Charlie. I've always wondered this. I think he phones Charlie.
yeah, but here's what irritates me about this. You have a guy. He's going down an emotional downward spiral. I mean, I'm sure we've all been there. And to those of you who are still going through that, I hope you get out of it. And he has a stubbornness to him, right? Like he says, "Listen, I don't care what the Navy says. He was my best friend. He was my brother, and he's gone, and it's my fault." And Charlie kind of comes in her mind. I get that she's trying to help. I get that she's trying to get him back on the saddle. I get that she's trying to get him to come back to fly and graduate and do what he's supposed to do. But at the end of the day, she tries 3 different tactics. The first one is like, okay, you got to look at this thing realistically. It's not your fault. The Navy says it's not your fault. The second tactic is to kind of lift them up a little bit, right? You were larger than life, right? He kind of lifts him up a little bit. And if that doesn't work, brings the realism back into play. And then when that doesn't work, he kind of just badmouths him. He says, "Okay, you didn't learn a damn thing, did you?" Like, well, hang on a second. He didn't ask for your help. He didn't ask for you to come in. I understand what you're trying to do. You're trying to be a friend, and I get it. But when people try to offer advice that you didn't ask for, they kind of seem like a jerk.
Yeah, I get the feeling with Charlie. So the more as I watch it as an adult and in later life, I think to myself, she's not a very good girlfriend. And it was obviously a relationship that was never destined to go anywhere. And I can see what people were like with the Maverick film. They're like, well, Charlie's not in it. There's no real mention to her. But I get the feeling that she was just a very small part of his life. And yeah, she goes off, leaves him, and
Well,
yeah,
I get what she was trying to do. She was trying to get him back into the Navy to say, okay, finish what you started. But I think the angle that she approached it was completely out of whack. Which later on, if you on the same side of the on the opposite side of the same coin, when Maverick when he does get that kick in the pants by Charlie, he does ask for help from Viper, right? Because when he says, if I needed help, I'll ask for it. And this is
yeah,
at the part where, okay, Charlie, he did give him a kick in the pants, which though harsh, may have been necessary for Maverick to pursue Viper and talk to him.
yeah. Again, I like this scene. I like all the photographs that he has on the wall. The house is beautiful. That's kind of like my dream house that he lives in. Um, but this is a really good scene.
Every
And
naval aviator, every pilot has the my room.
yeah,
This
yeah,
is
yeah,
accomplishments, everything else. And you know what? I don't blame him. If I did everything that this guy did, I would have a my room too.
it seems like his house is his my room house.
Yeah. Well, that's my house is right now.
Going back to the love interest with Charlie as well, I think when you compare that to Top Gun Maverick with Penny Benjamin, I think I think the Penny Benjamin story is so much better than the Charlie story. And like I said, I like Charlie. She's part of the history of Top Gun and everything I love about the film. But when you look at it now, like there's a real true bond between Penny Benjamin um, and Maverick, where there isn't that bond in Top Gun, is there? And I don't feel that there's any love between the two. I think it's just a lust-filled relationship.
I love the song they used in this. This is still the Top Gun theme, but instead of a hard rock and roll, it's a nice ensemble oboe with the Harold Faltermeyer synthesizer in the
Yeah,
background.
and it goes
I
with
really,
the sunset, the
yeah,
orange sunset.
yeah, I really wish that because this is the thing that bothers me about the soundtrack. Everything about it is perfect, except it's not available on YouTube or like on Spotify or anything else. Like the soundtrack stuff. And you have people that are music editors or like sound amplifiers and things like that. They would either make their own custom, which sounds almost there but not really, or you have a person that would download that score and kind of isolate the noise of all the jets or like the ocean crashing or the seagulls chirping, just so you can get the music out of it. And yet it's still unsuccessful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So where did you get your Top Gun hat?
I got this made. This was there's a shop in West Edmonton Mall here that they you would buy a hat and you were able to put custom things on it.
Oh,
So
okay.
I told them exactly what I wanted, what the font was, what the size was, and everything else, and they sewed it in.
Oh, that's cool.
Mhm.
I found because I've looked for one for a long time, and I've only just found a company that does some really good hats, and they've just agreed to do some sort of partnership with me. Actually, we'll be doing it in future videos, but um, they're cool. I don't want to get it wrong now because they've been really cool to me, and I'm going to find the name out. But for anyone that's watching that wants one of these hats, go to um, Top Gun official store. They've got some really good clothing. They've got like the jackets that Cam's wearing. Mine's in the background there. They do, but they've got mine's the same as yours, Cam. I've got that fake, like not very good fur around the collar, where these ones do the proper like fur around the collar, and they're really cool. They've got some of the best Top Gun merch that I've seen, and they've got the hats and everything. So check them out, guys. I'll put a link down in the description down below of this video when it's been uploaded. They're on Instagram as Top Gun Official Store, and yeah, they've got some really good merch.
So that's Chipper and Sundown we're looking at.
Chipper was only 20 when he filmed this movie, wasn't he?
Yeah. He didn't have that much of a role in this, honestly.
No, not at all. I think I reckon there was some edited out scenes with him in, but at the final cut, he was hardly in the movie. And there's the fake award. Oh, fun fact here. So the guy that I was telling you about that took all the photography for this film, Heater, he is in this film right now. And also you can see, what's his name?
You're talking about the guy with the haircut, right?
Yeah. So the guy, let me see where he is. Hold on, he's coming up now.
I know who you're talking about. I just can't remember who he is. But yeah, we do see Heater later.
That's him, Heater. He's the guy with the mustache in the background. So he's the photographer, and what he does, he puts his hand on Maverick's shoulder, and someone said to him, "Oh, I see what you're doing there. You're letting the audience know that I'm the real pilot, and you're just the actor." He said, "I didn't do that on purpose. Genuinely, he was just trying to do something that made him interact with the scene." And also, Heater was the guy that fired. There was only 2 missiles fired in this movie, 2 real missiles.
Yeah.
And Heater was the guy that fired those missiles. So he's got the claim. That was him there, just in the background.
Yeah.
Cool guy. Oh, there's a book as well that Heater done. I'm going to plug that for him, even though it's not in print anymore, so he's not making any money off, I don't think, anymore. But it's called The Cutting Edge. I don't know if you've heard of this book, but The Cutting Edge is the picture that I told you about earlier on, which was the picture that made the movie.
Yeah.
Is in the book Cutting Edge, and there's all F-14 and Navy pictures in this book. The book is very expensive. The book is like only on eBay. I can only find it on eBay. It's not on Amazon. And you're looking between $125 to $250. And there's a copy on there for $1,000 that's sealed. So really expensive book, but I'm on the lookout for it at the moment. So if anyone sees it anywhere, let me know.
God, I love to carry off on this. I never get tired of watching
this. Yeah, I love the ending. I love this.
I learned the type of grad filter that Tony Scott uses for a lot of these scenes. If you notice, it's very orange. It's actually what I was saying before. This movie is very orange because they use graduated filters on it. It's actually more noticeable in Days of Thunder because he also directed that one as well. But I actually recreated that graduated filter where you have it's a little bit dark on the top, it's a little bit pinky red, and it goes later down to yellow orange. In some of my edits in a lot of the posts that I've done, and I actually did a test on Photoshop, especially in the movie right there. That's it.
That's the shot, isn't it? That is the shot. Got Richard calling me. What is Richard?
Anyway, but yeah. So I did a couple of tests with the graduated filter and some old photos that I've done, and I gotta tell you, it works. So.
Did it work?
Of course it does. I'm not sure if you do Photoshop, which I'm assuming you do, hence why you did that thumbnail.
Apparently, we've been cut off.
Yeah, oh, here it is.
Oh, our stream's unavailable. I think I'm gonna have to end the stream. And put it back.
I refreshed the page. We're okay. I see. We refreshed the page. I actually have it on YouTube on another thing. So
no, we've been suspended. Our stream's been suspended.
Oh.
Which is odd.
Well, we're gonna keep going. Just basic thing.
What's gone on? The stream's been cut off, I think. 1 second. I think it's because we've had Top Gun on in the background. That's what it is. Oh, this is going to be this is going to be bad news.
Oh boy.
Oh, apparently we're back on.
Yeah. See, I refreshed the page, so we're fine.
Let me have a look on mine.
For those that are just tuning in, sorry for the interruption of our programming. We're experiencing some technical difficulties.
Yeah,
But
we're
if
back
you are
live.
still,
I'm looking online. It
if
shows that we're.
yeah. Well, I have the stream on the YouTube on a different page. I think we're still okay. Anyway,
I wonder what happened there. That threw me completely off on the last bit. But we've had a good turnout. I've been looking at the numbers. We've kept a steady 5 people on at all times for
wonderful.
the live stream, and we've got 7 people on right now.
Yeah. Turn back the clock. He just reported that we're still on. So we're
back. He says we're back on. So I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
I think it's probably to do with playing the movie, but YouTube have not said anything to me. Normally they'll comment.
Okay, so that F-14 is not locked into a catapult, number one. Number two, the joystick that the MiG-28 uses is actually the radar intercept officer's joystick on the backseat of the F-14.
Say that again, sorry.
I was saying that Maverick's F-14 was not attached to the catapult properly at that one little scene right there. And the joystick that the MiG-28 uses is actually supposed to be the joystick for the radar intercept officer. They have like a little thing in the back.
Yeah.
God, this is good. Where did they get that minigun from?
What on the because the on the F5 on the F4 on the F5 you mean?
Yeah, like you have you have the guy who shoots the thing, and then it shows a minigun.
Yeah,
So I'm wondering,
yeah.
where did they get the minigun from?
Uh,
Did they just shoot that, or did they steal that from another movie?
I don't know. If anyone knows, let us know. Put it down in the comments.
Please, we wish to know.
And guys, if we've said anything wrong on this, if there's anything that you don't agree with what we've said, let us know. Put it in the comments. I'll pin any corrections at the top. It's hard to get everything right, but I think between us we've done a pretty good job. But if there's anything we haven't done, let us know. Or if there's anything that we've missed and you think that was significant, put it in for us.
That's a furball.
Oh, all the aileron rolls, that wouldn't happen in real life. But
yeah, the aileron rolls, they only do that because it looks good on camera because there's a lot of motion.
Cool.
But
yeah,
the problem is, I heard from an old instructor say this, is that the aileron roll doesn't really do anything in a dogfight scenario because the mass of the airplane is still not moving and you're still
you're in the same spot. So if you aileron roll, you're staying exactly where you are.
Yeah, it looks cool. Don't
Looks
get me
cool.
wrong, it looks absolutely amazing, but in a dogfight scenario, it's pointless.
Yeah, it just looks. It definitely looks cool. 100. You cannot deny that. Talk to me, Goose. I love the way we're both quiet now. We're both loving this.
So, that question actually to anyone that's in the model community that actually builds model airplanes, wouldn't the MiG-28 be classified as a 1x1 scale what if F5 plane? They just put black paint on an airplane and called it a MiG-28. The MiG-28 doesn't exist.
You can
So I'm
buy
wondering if it's well, I know that, but on the box it still says F5, the MiG,
Oh,
but
okay,
it's
okay.
not it's not it's not classified as a MiG 28
Yeah,
plane.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm wondering, is the MiG 28 just a one on one scale of a what if idea?
I tell you, when I was a kid watching this movie, because like I watched this in the 80s, like so there was no internet. There was no way of researching anything. So for a good few years, I thought the MiG-28 was real, and then going through books after books after books, I'm like, I can't find the MiG-28. I can see this F5. It looks just like the MiG-28. I just can't work out what it is. I'm going through more. It took me a long time, and then I realized that hold on, there is no MiG-28. They must have made it for the movie. And I remember coming to that conclusion myself and going, yeah, they've definitely made that for the movie. It's not real. And then when I found out, I was like a little bit chuffed, a little bit happy with myself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Let's see if this is the watch bit.
For those of you that are just tuning in, if you are involved in the model community and do not know what a what if is, it's basically you take an airplane that's either yours or foreign or from a foreign country, and you either paint it in a certain way or you mark it in a certain way that makes it its own element. For example, you take an SU 27 flanker fighter and you put American markings on it. That's a what if. Okay, if you put an F-14 and you put Canadian markings on it, that's a what if. Like I remember I built an F-14 with the CF-101 Voodoo markings on it, and I called it the CF-144 Tundra Cat because being in Canada, it's cold up here.
Yeah, yeah. One other thing as well. So the HUD display or the targeting display on these is totally fictitious as well. That's not how it would lock onto a target. But it's cool for the movie.
Yeah, I mean you can tell it's fake
That's
because
fake.
yeah, you can tell it's fake is because number one, you're not behind the guy. Number two, the MiG 28 is moving too slow in the regular dogfight scenario. And number three, you can tell that one when it was filmed and they put the targeting in front of it. Which is fine, you can do what you want. It works.
This is the part. Have a look at his watch now. I don't know if it's in this scene or if it's in an earlier scene.
What's
I don't know
that?
if it's in the when he's flying with is it Jester that he flies against when he does the move? Um, I don't know if the watch is in that scene or if it's in this scene, but if you look closely,
Yeah. It's silver, isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
Come on, Maverick, you can do it. Don't think, just do.
Just yeah, there you
There it
go.
is.
See it? That was a
Silver.
Rolex.
Yep, that's a Rolex.
Rolex. And
Fun.
I think that has been used twice. I think they used the same cut in the earlier scenes as well, which
Well,
makes me
fun.
wonder if that was actually because they used a lot of cutting off, like they used literally every bit of footage they took for this movie, and I'm wondering if that was an Iceman scene because Iceman wears a silver Rolex. So I'm wondering if that is Iceman's hand really, not Maverick's.
I don't know.
Be interesting to find out.
It's funny how you mentioned the missiles thing. Okay, so you said they fired two missiles, which that I can agree with because if you pay attention, they actually show one plane that had, I think it was the VF-213 markings on it, and then the
Yeah,
other one had different markings on it. I think the bit where Maverick shot the first missile that they actually flipped the like they mirrored that image to make it look like we're shooting from the right side of the
yeah, they
screen.
mirrored it. Yeah,
They mirrored it, and also, funny enough, when they were the modeling team that were doing the models for all the different airplanes, they did a bit where the MiG 28 shot the missile, And the United States Navy was looking at it, and they thought it looked so realistic that they actually conducted an investigation.
Did they?
Yeah, they conducted an investigation to see if that was an actual missile or that was just a model. And they did later find out it was a model, so no charges.
It might have been one of Tony Scott's dodgy checks. He might have said, "I'll pay for it," and then
Yeah, $25,000 missile.
there's a continuity error here. If you look,
Yeah,
Maverick's got his sunglasses on,
yeah.
and then you'll see his sunglasses are off, or they're on.
But
Takes them off.
yeah, when Slider when he picks him up, his sunglasses are off. But yeah, as soon as Slider picks him up, his sunglasses are
Yeah,
on. Like,
yeah, and
wow,
then they're on. Still cool.
yeah.
There's
I
a
do
bit
notice
where Slider's walking in front of everybody, and if you hear the real story why Slider done that, it said all these people here, they're all real Navy crew,
Yeah.
and he said he was so embarrassed. He
Oh,
wanted,
he did like a mugging thing.
yeah, he
Right
just wanted
there.
to get. Look, there he is. He's in front now, and he just walks in front. He said, "I wanted to get out of there because I was so embarrassed."
He got kicked off of the aircraft carrier, Rick Rossovich, because he was
Did he?
doing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like they had 4 days on the carrier, and sorry, 5 days on the carrier. Rick Rossovich was only there for 4. He got in trouble for sleeping in a bunk, and he got into an argument with a crew member from the carrier. He got into an argument, so he had to sleep where the captain's quarter was, and then the captain of the ship totally ripped him a new one, and he got in trouble for something else, but for some reason he got in trouble again. He didn't know what it was, but something else happened.
Apparently, we've been cut off again. We've got no feed again. Apparently,
Oh no.
no. Let's see what's happened.
Okay,
Stream unavailable. Suspended for policy violations.
oh.
I think what I'll do is I'm going to end the stream here. We're finished anyway. We're at 2 hours. Let me end the stream and then I'll talk to you in the back room. But
Yeah.
guys, if this has made it through to the point, I'm gonna end it here because YouTube don't like this stream for some reason. So thanks a lot for watching. And Cam, you've been amazing. I think you're such a cool guy, and hopefully we can do this again for Top Gun Maverick.
Well, you can count. We will do this again. We'll have to watch the second movie, which I think through some editing magic, I think we're going to need to, I don't know, like not show the movie as much, but have it like playing in the background, kind of like do what
Yeah,
some other streamers do.
I'm hoping.
Fuzzy or playing in the background or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's the way we're going to have to do it. I'm going to end the stream now. Anyway, I'm going to see. Well, you stay there, and I'll end the stream.
All right.
End the stream.